Hi everyone, and welcome to Mrs. Wing's Curriculum Night. So this is for Gifted Education Program 2nd and 3rd grades. I just want to tell you a little bit about myself before we begin, and we're going to go over our curriculum and the expectations for the year. So I was very proud to represent Sharon Elementary for Teacher of the Year, and I got it to the semifinalists for Forsyth County. I am the Sharon Robo Knights robotics coach for First Lego League, and I'm so proud of my teams. They have made it to Worlds. They actually won first place in the state of Georgia for Champions Award, and then we represented the state of Georgia in the Worlds competition in Houston, Texas. We competed against all over the world, from Korea, India, England, Italy, Canada, Mexico. It was a great experience, and they came in 3rd place in project presentations. So super proud of that. I'm also the BAT Ambassadors, and if you're in 2nd grade this year, you're going to become a BAT Ambassador with us, and we have that in the yearbook, and so we make sure to tell everybody that the importance of bats and how vital they are to the environment. I also do Hogwarts Club, STEM Club, Minecraft Club, and I have presented at the National Science Teacher Association several times. Science is a passion of mine as well as reading. So here we go. My family is everything to me, and once your child is in my class, they become part of my family. So I wanted to introduce you to everybody in my family. So as you can see from the pictures, we love the beach, we love our dogs, we love Hogwarts, but I just want to introduce you. So in the top, in the middle is Lily Caroline, our granddaughter. My daughter Megan and her husband Nick had their first child, and my first grandchild in September, so she'll be a year old this September, and she obviously is the apple of all of our eyes. We love and adore her. My husband Bruce, we've been married for going on 35 years now, so we've had a wonderful lifetime together with our children and growing up, and we're so happy to be grandparents. My mom is Nancy and my dad's Gary. They gave me a golden childhood. And my mom and dad now live with us because my mom has some health issues. So we're really making sure to try to protect her as much as we possibly can because she's at a high risk for COVID. So we're doing everything that we can to protect her. My son John, as you see in the bottom left-hand corner, and his lovely fiancée Lauren, they're going to get married this November, hopefully, that there won't be any restrictions on the wedding and the wedding will proceed, and we'll be able to have the big gathering that we're hoping for. So that is my family, and then the dogs, if you see them from left to right, is Finn, Jack, Mick, and Murphy, and we adore our dogs. They are a part of our family, and they are just the best dogs you could possibly ever ask for. As you can see, we really love the beach, and we really love Hogwarts and Disney and traveling and going on vacation. So that's just a little bit about our family, and now we're going on to curriculum. So in Gifted in 2nd and 3rd grade, we do have a pull-out full-day delivery model. We will meet once a week, whether you're face-to-face or virtually. We will be able to have our lessons we post on It's Learning in our Google Classroom, so they'll be posted on both. Always go to It's Learning first, and you will have the pages. There will be a page for virtual and a page for face-to-face. Now, for those of you that purchase the We Do Kit, you can go on to the face-to-face to see the lesson for that part of it. So that way, you can see the differentiation for the lessons. And then let's go over our expectations for virtual learning and for students and the learning coaches. So learning coaches, guardians, parents, please click these links and make sure you've gone over the expectations with your child. This is for both virtual and face-to-face students, as we may end up all going virtual learning during some part of the school year. Now, for those of you that are virtual learning now, you did sign up for the Forsyth County's Learning Coach expectations. So those are just listed there. You can actually click on that and go to there. But let's go ahead and go over the expectations for just etiquette for being online and what the expectations are. So this is an email that I will be sending out, but it says, Dear Gifted Education Program families, before we begin our online virtual teaching, I would like for you to have a conversation with your child about online etiquette. In order for this to be the most effective and efficient learning experience, students need to understand what is and what is not appropriate. As we settle into what virtual schooling will look like and feel like, there will be changes and adjustments that we'll need to make. It takes time to find what works best, so we'll all practice patience and grace. Students need to be respectful of their peers and their teachers. Here are some things to discuss with your child about online video etiquette during our live or synchronous lessons. There are also tips for creating the best learning environment possible and the expectations for the learning coaches. So this is a big one. In the chat box, students should not use any vulgar language or language that is hurtful to others. Some texting lingo is not appropriate for school, and students likely do not even know what all the letters stand for. Students should just not use any texting lingo at all. That's going to be the expectation. Students should write in complete sentences when using the chat box. This includes starting a sentence with a capital letter and ending it with a punctuation mark. This is a kindergarten standard, so I expect the students to start applying any of those standards that they've learned throughout their writing, no matter where they're writing. In the chat box, students should not carry on a separate conversation for fun while the class is involved in a group discussion or teaching. The chat box should only be used to ask the teacher a question or to respond to the teacher or another student about what we are teaching in the lesson. Students should not share things on the video meet that they would not share in school. This includes visuals of their social media accounts. Now, I realize most second and third graders do not have social media accounts, but I have seen some that have. We're just making this the protocol so that the expectation is from very young age all the way up. Please be aware that students may access the live Google Meets outside of the scheduled time, and they should be supervised by their learning coach. Students should mute their mics when they are not sharing with the class. If the teacher is calling on a student individually to respond, the student should unmute their mic to respond and then mute it after. If you can just imagine having 20-something mics on and all the background noise, it can get very distracting and it's hard to hear. So muting your mic is very important. This is important. This is whether we're teaching virtually or face-to-face. Students should be respectful. They need to follow the directions the first time they are given, and they need to listen carefully. This also means when looking over directions, make sure you read the directions really carefully to make sure that you understand before asking or emailing me a question, because most of it's going to be right in the lesson or right in the its learning page. So you should be able to find almost everything that you need right there. Best learning environment and the learning coach's role. You need to find a space where your child can focus and not be distracted by other things that are happening in the house. This should be somewhere they can sit at a table or a desk. Students should be dressed like they would if they were going to school. Remember, dress for success. Don't just let them roll out of bed minutes before our first synchronous lesson. The more you can make your at-home space feel like school, the more successful your child will be. Choose an area where the learning coach can check with them frequently to answer questions and make sure they are on task. The learning coach should be available to speak with a teacher during any synchronous lesson and should be monitoring their child's behavior. Students should not be on a separate devices. They shouldn't be texting, playing games, or being distracted with other things. Just like at school, technology should only be used for educational purposes. The learning coach should monitor the student to make sure they are following class expectations and that they are following the lesson. Learning coaches should make sure the student is on time, is ready for the day, and turns in assignments from the checklist on its learning. Talking. Be aware of background noise in your household. Personal conversations by other family members and ambient noise can be heard on our Google Meets. This can be very distracting for all of our learners. Please make sure to provide materials necessary for success. Make sure your child has access to paper, notebooks, pencils, pencil sharpener, folders, and other items used in school before we start a lesson. In addition, make sure your child's devices are fully charged or plugged in each morning. Finally, there will be occasions where having 2 screens is optimal. This will allow your child to see the screen with the pictures of their classmates or the presentation and play a scheduled online game or activity. Obviously, this is not mandatory or not necessary, but it could be helpful if they would want to do it. So those are kind of just our general overall video and online expectations. So these are the things that we're asking you to have your child adhere to. So these are just the programs that I use. I'm going to talk about each one in the next slide. So I do use Class Dojo for incentives. ELA and novel studies will go over, and the 20-book challenge. We do study Greek and Latin STEM so students can break down words and understand the etymology of them. For math, we use our Figure It Out Math for both 2nd and 3rd grade, and we use Dynamath for 3rd. For coding, we use Codeorg, and the Lego, we do 2.0 Lego kits, and we'll do First Lego League Junior with our Mission Moon with everybody. And that's if you're virtual or face-to-face, we will be doing it. I'll have modified versions. In 3rd grade, we do DNA with BioBus. Hopefully this year, Georgia State will be able to come in with BioBus, but if not, I have been trained on it. I'm taking workshops so I can provide it. And in 2nd grade, we do biology. So Class Dojo, points will be given for outstanding work, for showing grit, and for following expectations. Points will be used for not completing work, not following expectations, or needing materials in class. So if they run out of pencils, I'll just charge them some Dojo points to get a pencil, or if they need some other materials. Dojo does have an email system, but it does not alert me, so please do not email me or send me questions through Class Dojo. If you want me to respond that day, please email me at the email here, wwing@forsyth.k12.ga.us. I am kind of compulsive that I check this email all the time because it does alert me, and I look at it probably 15 times a day. But emails through Class Dojo, there's no alert, so I may not respond for a number of days. So let's talk about our novel studies. One of the things I really teach my students how to do, and it's a very important skill, is annotation. So we can annotate directly in the books if they buy them. Now I do have sets of books that students can use and put little Post-it notes and things on it, but it's so much easier if they can annotate directly in the book. And for those students at home, for virtual learning, you can check these books at the library. A lot of times you can get them at Goodwill or used bookstores. And there's also Amazon and Scholastic. So there's all different ways that you can get these books. One of the things that we'll really focus on this year is our ACEs constructive response. And we used to call that an essay. So a constructive response, just for your knowledge, is an essay. But I will definitely break that down, teach them how to TTQA, turn the question around, to create a great thesis statement, how to cite evidence, how to support that evidence through elaboration and explaining it, and then have a summary statement. So we will definitely work on that all year. When we're doing our novels, we definitely work on the theme or the universal truth of the story. And we do use the terminology that they will use in middle school and high school because they're just little sponges right now and are learning vocabulary anyway. So I teach them the actual terminology like protagonist, antagonist, character. We talk about traits, motivations, and feelings for each of the characters, conflict, climax, resolution for a plot. And then we summarize a plot using somebody wanted, but so then, or SW beats ST. And we do a lot with figurative language. And then we look at our Greek and Latin stems so that we can break down that, understand words that we don't even know, but we can look at the stems and figure out what they mean. So in second grade, we'll be reading The Dragonling together as a group. The Truth About Bats. Unfortunately, this book is no longer in print, so I do have a few copies we'll read in class. So we'll do that also. We also will have Science, Comic Bats, Learn to Fly. We'll read Sarah, Plain and Tall together, Midnight on the Moon, and Ralph S. Mouse. And then these are just some of the other books that they could choose to read if they want to. I have thousands of books in my library that they can check out. There's no checkout system. They just take what they want and then bring it back when they're done. And also, I will send out a list of all the books for my virtual learners that are approved for the book challenge. Third grade novel studies. We'll be reading The Dragonling. We were supposed to read that last year, but because we went out of school because of the shutdown, we didn't get to it, so we will start that this year. We'll also read Frindle, one of my all-time favorite books, The Lemonade Ward, and Save Me a Seat. We'll be doing an author study with Andrew Clements because that is a third grade standard about doing an author study, reading multiple books by the same author. We'll also be reading The Green Book, which is a science fiction, and then students can choose to read Hatchet and some other books. So if you'd like to place from Scholastic, I did send that link in our supply list, and my code is LHLCL. And if you just type that in where it shows right over here, it'll bring you right there, and I'll make recommendations and things to buy. Now, it does really help if you can purchase anything through Scholastic because we receive points, especially through the month of September. If we can put an order in of $300, we get tons of points that I can use to buy more books for our classroom and class sets. So that really does help. If you can order anything from Scholastic, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it to help with our classroom library. Because as you can imagine, books get destroyed, they don't come back. So we always have to replenish those books. So with our Greek and Latin stems, we learn stems like bene, mal, vor, ernal. This year we're going to learn async and then chron. So we can talk about learning the words like asynchronous and synchronous. So this is a great way. It's something that we do in fifth grade and they'll do in middle school too, and just a wonderful way to make sure you can break down words and understand the etymology. So the 20 book challenge. We'll read 4 books in class as novel studies or class reads. These books will count towards the book challenge. Some will be started in class, like we might start Rules in 3rd grade, but then they'll finish reading it at home. Most will be selected by students from our class library or library list, and they will read on their own. So I do ask that the books come from either my library or the list, and I'll have thousands of books on there just because I want them to read quality literature. And Diary of a Wimpy Kid or Captain Underpants is not quality literature. So I just want to make sure that we're giving them a variety of types of genres to read and good quality literature. Individually read books. I have changed the system a little bit this year for my third graders. So I've created over the summer, I've been working on quizzes that are multiple choice. That'll be on Google Forms. And as long as you receive an 85% or higher, you'll receive credit. If you do not get an 85 or higher, you will not receive credit. You can only take the quiz one time. You can also fill out a book review documentation form, which has like, who is the protagonist? What are their character traits? What are their motivations? What is the theme of the story? And they'll have to type that up. And you can do up to 5 books on a book documentation. And everything will be done through Google Forms so that we can keep it a nice organized system. You don't have to do any of the book documentations. If you want to choose all the ones that have quizzes on Google Forms so that you don't have to do that, you can choose to do that. It's up to you. You will need to read 10 books a semester in order to make the 20-book challenge. Now remember, this is a challenge, but your only homework that you'll really be given is reading. So if you read 15 to 20 pages a night, you can figure it out. You should be able to read 20 books throughout the school year. So if you successfully pass 10 books by December 7th, I will bring you an ice cream at lunch and a free book certificate. So you'll get a book that you can choose from Scholastic, or you'll get an ice cream. And then if you do that and you read 20 books by May 7th, I will bring you pizza for lunch. Now, my Wall of Fame. I have this Wall of Fame in the classroom where students who read 30 or more books will be on the Wall of Fame. Their picture will be up there and their year, and for as long as I'm teaching, they will be up there in the Wall of Fame. And that's a really big deal for a lot of my students. For math, we use Figure It Out Math with 2nd and 3rd grade, and these are multi-step word problems, and we use different strategies. We use a pattern, create a table or chart, work backwards, use a model. So these are all things that will teach them how to break down the problems, and they have to really learn how to break down. They can't just say, well, the answer is 15. Well, why? So it makes them break it down, just like when you're in AP Calculus. You can't just give the answer. You have to show your thinking and your work throughout it. So this does make them do that. We will also be using Dynamath for 3rd grade. This goes from 3rd to like 6th grade math, and so we'll be pulling the things out of there that work for 3rd grade, and we'll be doing breakouts throughout the year too, because they do love a breakout. We will be doing First Lego League Junior, and we'll be doing Mission Moon, which is my favorite. I love anything about space. I grew up in Orlando, Florida, so I watched the space shuttles go up. I actually saw Saturn V go up. I don't remember it, but I was there. I have pictures with my family. So space race has always been a fascination for me, and so I love this program where students will be researching, creating projects about problems about colonizing the moon. And they will use the We Do kit, and then those of you at virtual that don't have a We Do kit, I will have a non-We Do kit option for you. So don't worry, we're all going to do Mission Moon and learn about how to live and colonize the moon, which is so much fun. And you can see here, this is when we had our expo that the students dressed up as hats and everything else and had their teams, and so it was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, this year we won't have the expo, but that leaves us open that we can do lots of fun things that we're not restricted to the First Lego League Junior restrictions. We'll be using Code.org. Those of you at home doing virtual will rely a lot on Code.org for our coding and not with the We Do kits. But we can show you all the things. They have introduction videos. It has tutorials on how to do things. There's a bar level here that shows them where they are. And if it's a solid green, they finish it. But if it's not completely green, they need to go back and finish something on there. So it really breaks it down. And it is a drag and drop system of coding so that they learn how to do it and they learn that thinking of a good coder. Genetics with BioBus. Every year I have the Georgia State Fellows come in and teach genetics with the students. Now this year they may or may not be able to come in depending on the restrictions, but I have taken the courses and I've been trained on it. So if they can't come in, I will do as much of this program as I can with my 3rd graders to learn about genetics. They'll learn about Punnett squares, they'll learn about heterozygous and homozygous and dominant traits and recessive traits, and we will plant things that have been radiated. So it's a great program that the kids love every year. And in 2nd grade, we become bat ambassadors, so we'll read both nonfiction and fiction texts about bats. We'll use our Greek and Latin stems that we learn to read those texts. So a lot of the Greek and Latin stems that they learn will be applied to what they're reading in their texts about bats. They'll become bat ambassadors, and our goal as a bat ambassador is to teach people about the vital roles bats play in our environment, and we would be in big trouble without them. We will use bats to learn about text features, main ideas, supporting ideas, applied math problems, science, the form and function of the structures of bats, their habitats and life cycles. So we just use bats as a vehicle to learn all about those things in an applied way. So I'm looking forward to a phenomenal year, and I will be available to answer any of your questions during our sessions. So if you have any questions, please feel free to come to that session or email me, and look forward to a great year. Bye.